Hello, everybody, and welcome to this morning's webinar. It is fantastic to have so many with us here today. It'd be lovely to hear from you in the chat. Do let us know where you're joining from, how you're doing this morning. Maybe tell us about the weather. We're a bit weather obsessed in Britain, so we always like to know about that. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Emma from Small Business Britain, and today we have the lovely Karen Webber with us, who is going to talk to you all about how you can win customers' attention. Hello, Karen.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's always such a pleasure to be part of Small Business Britain stuff because you're a great team and you do so much for our small business community. So I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, bless you. That's so kind. Thank you so much. We are recording today's session, so if you do miss anything, don't worry, you can catch up later on. We'll send a replay link, which will have the recording on Facebook and YouTube to you tomorrow morning. So don't worry about if you need to head off early or catch up on anything, that's absolutely fine. I also know that Karen's got a QR code today, and there are a few bits and pieces that you might want to do kind of in your own time. So when that comes on screen, make sure you scan that. If you've got some questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A box at the bottom, and we will go through those at the end. Finally, I want to say a big thank you to BT for supporting this webinar and making it possible. Right, I will hand over to you now, Karen, and I'll see you at the end for some questions.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. It's really lovely to be here. Like I said, such a fan of Small Business Britain and all the work they do. The QR code that Emma mentioned, you can scan that there. It is a workbook, so it's got some exercises and some of the things that I'll be sharing today. So it means you don't have to furiously take notes and you can take part in the chat and just sit back and listen. So like Emma said, my name's Karen Webber. I've been running Goodness Marketing for coming up to 8 years now, and I help save good people from bad marketing. So I support small businesses and marketing teams to do marketing that feels good, does good, and gets good results. And I do that through effective, sustainable marketing strategies and marketing plans. So you can scan the QR code there for your workbook. It means you can just sit back and listen. So before I kick off, I actually have a confession to make, and I think some of you might relate to this story. So last summer, I thought it's about time I learned how to do Facebook ads for my own business. And somebody mentioned this brilliant course they did, and I thought it sounds great. I bought it, thinking that I'd find some time over the summer to do it. Of course, that was silly. So when October came round and it was finally time for me to do the course and take some time, I'd forgotten how to access the content. I'd forgotten where I'd saved it. So I looked in my computer and on my Google Drive, and I just searched for ad course, and I didn't find the course that I bought. But I did find 3 other ads courses that I'd previously bought, three courses on exactly the same topic. And I had this mortifying moment of realization whilst looking at this cringeful digital collection of solutions to exactly the same problem. It made me understand that something quite fundamental about marketing. We're not suffering from a lack of advice or a lack of techniques. We are drowning in sameness. Courses that look the same, brands that seem the same. And that's precisely the problem that your small business faces in the marketplace. Your potential buyers are not struggling to find businesses that do what you do. They are overwhelmed by options that all look and sound the same. We are exposed to between 6,000 and 10,000 brand messages a day, according to Forbes. In the 1970s and 80s, even then it was high, it was in the hundreds. So we see a lot of marketing and brand messages all the time, but how many of those do we actually remember? I would say almost none. Coupled with that, our attention span is getting shorter. So in the year 2000, our average attention span online was about 12 seconds. In 2015, it was 8 seconds. And I would say now it's even lower still. Certainly when I look at how my teenager engages with his phone and, scroll TikTok, I think our attention is just getting shorter all the time. And this overwhelm, this combination of loads of messages and short attention spans and busy lives means that our buyers and potential shoppers are a bit overwhelmed. We're overwhelmed by choice, we don't know what to go for, and we end up doing nothing. So from a business point of view, it's no wonder that sometimes our marketing feels like trying to get up an icy hill in your car. No matter how much effort you put in and how much smoke comes out the engine and how much you sweat or cry, in my case, you just can't get the traction that you need. Now, the answer is not to do more marketing. It's not to put more effort into getting up that hill. It's actually to be more meaningful. The businesses that are thriving today aren't necessarily the ones with the biggest budgets or the most content. They are actually the ones who are speaking differently. They're creating marketing that cuts through, not by being the loudest, but by being the most relevant, the most authentic, the most distinctively them for the right people. I want to tell you a little story about this bookshop, which is in the next village over from where I live in Stockport. So shout out to Serenity Booksellers, not a client, and they don't know I'm saying this. So when my family and I want books, like when the kids have vouchers or tokens, or we're buying a gift, this is where we go. A few weeks ago after World Book Day, my youngest had book tokens to spend. He didn't go on online retailers with all their endless selections and their next day delivery and their undercutting and their not paying taxes. We didn't even choose the bookshop in the village where we live, which is 5 minutes walk up the road. Instead, we made it a family outing. We took the dog on an extended dog walk to this bookshop, because this is where we go. This is where we feel at home. They're incredibly friendly and helpful. We love their emails. We love their social media content. They have a loyalty scheme that makes us feel special. They welcome the dog. They've got treats and water. And they always take the time for a genuine chat. They make great recommendations. They always support local schools and, community events. They host community events. They host brilliant authors. They've really created this warm, welcoming atmosphere that turns buying a book into an experience rather than a transaction. And that's the power of brand distinction. It doesn't just help you compete against bigger or more convenient options. It actually creates loyal customers who will go out of their way, literally, to come to you, to spend money with you, and maybe even shout about you on webinars. So here's the thing, distinction is the antidote to extinction. Following the marketing rules and doing marketing the same way as everybody else doesn't just feel like hard work, it is actually also no good for your business. There's research that tells us that authentic, distinctive marketing consistently outperforms generic sort of best practice approaches, because those authentic campaigns see higher engagement rates from people across all platforms, and people are more likely to buy from and remain loyal to brands that they perceive as being genuine. There was a study by someone called Stackler, a brand called Stackler, that found that 86% of people say authenticity is a key factor when they choose which brands they are going to support. And that authenticity is a word that I just feel it's so overused in marketing, but it boils down to businesses that are real, businesses that have a clear point of view and a unique tone of voice, because they consistently stand out and they capture attention in crowded markets. And it has this added benefit because when your marketing reflects your true values and your true voice, it's not just more effective for the bottom line for conversion, but it's actually more enjoyable to you and it's more sustainable. So it means you're going to do it more consistently. So you're creating this virtuous circle where marketing feels less like a chore and more like a natural extension of your business, where you have real conversations and build a relationship. So truly, distinction isn't just a nice to have. It actually drives real business results while making your marketing feel more aligned and authentic and real, and therefore easier to do. So it really is a win-win. So how do you actually put this into practice? It's about being a voice, not an echo. So it's not about trying to outshout your competition or outdo it, staying up all hours posting on social media. It's about speaking with clarity, with purpose, and with authentic personality. It's about being real, relevant, and unmistakably yourself. Because people don't just buy products and services anymore, they invest in stories, in values, and in meaningful connections. So there are two ways, and I know there's another QR code, but if you haven't yet seen the TED Talk or read the book by Simon Sinek, which is Start With Why, and all about finding your purpose and talking about your purpose, please scan that code because it will take you to a blog post I've done about exactly this. So how are you a voice, not an echo? It's about sharing your genuine why instead of just generic claims or just only ever talking about your products. It's about being real and people seeing a little bit about what you're actually about. And then secondly, it's about speaking to your front row. So much of marketing, people try to just be vanilla, just try to be palatable. They go, well, anybody can buy a book, so I'm just going to aim my marketing at anybody who has the means to buy a book or whatever it is you sell, when actually what we need to be doing is to speak directly to the people who truly resonate with your approach. So your front row, rather than the people who just go, oh, they're the cheapest or the most convenient. To go back to my example of Serenity booksellers, they are unashamedly nerdy about books. They are proper bookworms, and so am I. So for me, it feels natural to walk. I mean, sometimes I drive, but to go there, to go out of my way, to go and pay full price for that book because I want to be part of that. And when you take this be a voice, not an echo approach, another benefit of that is that no competitor can replicate your unique perspective and your authentic voice. So that's your sustainable competitive advantage in a world that drowns in sameness. I apologize if you can hear the marketing assistant Betsy barking at something. So now that we understand the power of being authentic and having this distinctive voice, let's get really practical. So how do you know if your marketing is accidentally falling into the echo territory? Here are some of the warning signs to watch out for in your current marketing. So I call them echo flags. Number one is using vague buzzwords like premium, luxury, committed to quality. These words don't mean anything much without the context. What you need to do is actually show people what that looks like in real life. And in the workbook and on a future slide, I will show you what that looks like. But yeah, we don't, as consumers, we see premium and luxury and words like this, and we kind of don't see what it means without that context. And writing in a tone that doesn't match how you naturally speak. So if you're warm and friendly and really upbeat in real life, but your website sounds like a super professional corporate robot, or the other way around, that's going to create a mismatch, and it feels jarring to the people receiving that marketing. If you post content that could apply to any business in your industry, so it's really generic, you become instantly forgettable because you just blend into this sameness blob that everybody sounds and looks like. So you become forgettable. Whereas if you're specific, you make that connection with people. So specificity will really help you stand out. Hiding the quirks that make you memorable. I think for anyone who has ever worked in corporate, maybe, this idea of being super professional and not, showing some of your personality, do not let your dog bark during a webinar, that sort of thing, is actually a mistake when it comes to marketing, because your weird and wonderful personality is actually your superpower. It's the thing that aspects of that will be what people truly connect with. So don't hide the things that make you memorable. The next one is a bit of a personal bugbear, sharing inspirational quotes without adding your own take. And we see this often. Isn't it easy to just take someone else's post on LinkedIn and resharing that because you agree with it? Or taking a nice quote, sticking it in Canva, and that's your content. It's actually not about what you share, but why it matters to you. Anybody can share that inspirational quote, but what your people want to know is why it matters to you and why it's relevant to them and to your business. Doing things just because that's how it's done is such a mistake. I get it when we start out with our businesses, we want to make sure we do things right, which is something I've come to believe is just nonsense because there's no rule book on marketing. Trends and best practices, those are fine until they drown out your originality. We often see this with, say, financial services, where people say, well, you're an accountant, best make your, and this is no shade on anybody with a blue website or blue branding, but we're told blue means trust, so you're an accountant, so that's the only option available to you. I would say question that narrative of that is how things are done, because if you want to stand out, if you want to be different, then you have to question those industry norms and standards. And finally, photos and visuals that look exactly the same as everybody else. I think years ago we saw the famous pink flat lay of someone's desk, you know, where they have perfectly matching stationery and beautiful, all very tidy and very white, and, you know, some flowers and a candle kind of thing. Actually, your personal behind the scenes, your space, your process, your approach, all of those things are what sets you apart. So you shouldn't hide that. That is actually something that you should be owning loud and proud. So let's look at some examples. Most businesses post this sort of content like that on the left here. Very much echo vibes. It's generic, it's playing it safe, it's blending in a stock phrase, start your morning right. That can be used by any cafe anywhere in the world. Ditto the cup, like that cup we've all seen a million times before, and the background. There's absolutely no personality, there's no unique selling point, there's no clues as to what makes this coffee special. So how can we improve this? We can say maybe what the roast is or what the vibe of the cafe is. We can get rid of generic phrases like start your morning right and try something maybe a bit more conversational, like no gimmicks, no syrups, just a solid no nonsense coffee to start your day. And we have to ask ourselves at the end of, if someone sees this, if they read to the end of that post, what are they supposed to do after seeing that? They'll just sort of shrug and go, okay, and there's nothing for them to do. So contrast that with the post on the right, which is very much a voice, not an echo. It's bold, it's opinionated, it's uniquely aligned with the values of that brand. I like the fact that it's opinionated and distinctive by saying unpopular opinion, because it challenges the norm and it sparks conversation. It's very much driven by personality. They lean into this old school identity rather than following trends. I love the fact that the photo is casual. It's very unpolished. It's just someone eating a very unaesthetic bacon butty, but it feels real. It feels relatable. It's definitely not a staged stock image, and people connect with that. They've also made their differentiator really clear. They're not just selling drinks, they're actually selling an ethos, proper builder's tea, affordable prices, keeping it real. And there's a call to engagement at the end. So I think sometimes people think it either stops bluntly, like the one on the left, you've just broadcast some information, or you need to have a call to action, which is often like, come and buy our coffee. Whereas this one is quite interesting because they've gone for a call to engagement. They really want to continue that conversation. So think about those aspects when you create your own content. Our next example is from a cookery class. So they've gone for learn to cook delicious meals in our friendly classes. It's fine, it's all right, but it really is quite generic and forgettable. This could be from any cooking class anywhere. There's no personality, there's no differentiation. It doesn't tell you what makes these classes special, and it really fails to connect with the reader's actual pain points. So how can we make this more interesting, more distinctive? Tired of Instagram recipes that take 3 hours? Our real life cooking classes show you how to make proper meals fast, easy, and with whatever's left in your fridge. We teach reality, not Pinterest. It's conversational, It feels like a real person talking, not a marketing script. It's really relatable. It speaks to people's real frustration. So it's that aspirational versus practical cooking. And it emphasizes what makes these classes different. It's real life cooking for real life situations. And I love that closer. We teach reality, not Pinterest, because it's punchy, it's memorable, it positions the brand firmly. I would argue maybe even that image can be changed to something a bit more realistic that people can relate to. And one final example here that we'll put side by side, homemade bread baked with love. I like that that's in a heart shape, but it's quite cliche, it's quite generic. That phrase, Tesco could quite easily put that phrase on a loaf of their sourdough, or any generic bakery can say homemade bread baked with love. So it lacks that element of uniqueness. There's no story, there's no point of difference. We're not telling people what makes the bread special. And for me, it really misses that emotional connection because it's this broad statement. It doesn't really invite the reader in. Here is an improvement. My grand's Yorkshire kitchen taught me one thing: proper bread takes time. That's why we still prove our dough for 24 hours, because some things shouldn't be rushed. So you're making that immediate personal connection through storytelling, because it's not just about bread, it's about heritage, it's about tradition, it's about personal values. And they get really specific. They don't just say homemade bread baked with love, which any bakery could claim. They are giving us concrete evidence of that quality. They prove their dough for 24 hours. I also like how they subtly differentiate from their competitors by implying that others, like Tesco maybe, sorry, not to slag off Tesco, but supermarkets, maybe rush their process. And it positions this bakery as more authentic, more committed to the craft. And that memorable closing line again, some things shouldn't be rushed, which serves as both a philosophy about bread and taps into that broader life perspective that will resonate with people on an emotional level. Now, I know we are not all copywriters, but I don't think that what makes this voice distinctive is clever wordplay or fancy language, but it's actually honesty, specificity, and personality, because it sounds like a real person talking about something they genuinely care deeply about, and that creates trust and connection far more effectively than some generic fancy marketing language ever would. However, I know this is a skill that we all need to practice. So we've seen the power of a distinctive voice in these examples, and the difference is clear. But the question you have probably is, how do I find and develop my own authentic voice for my business? So what I'd like to do, and this is in the workbook, is share with you 3 exercises that are really practical, quite simple, and you can use these immediately to uncover your distinctive voice and break free from generic marketing. They are the pub test. So would you actually say this over a drink with a friend? Buzz off buzzwords. So how we replace those vague terms with words that are specific, meaningful, and then stories that stick. So using storytelling to create that connection. And each of these approaches will help you strip away that sameness, the bland, the boring, the generic, and reveal what makes your business truly distinctive. So first, we're off to the pub. Or the coffee shop. It can be a drink of your choice. Imagine you're at the pub with your ideal buyer and think about what sort of language do you use to explain what you do. So look at these examples. In each pair, one sounds like a real conversation and the other one sounds like a corporate brochure. So the pub test is simple but powerful. If you wouldn't say it to someone over a drink, don't put it in your marketing. Would you say to someone, I'm passionate about optimal hair care solutions? You wouldn't. You would say, the purple shampoo from the pound shop is why your hair is green. Do you use words like facilitate, or do you say help in real life? Do you call your products premium, or do you say they're made to last? Do you optimize things, or do you make things better? Or a personal bugbear, I have real issues with the word utilize. What is wrong with use? So think about how you speak and how you would speak to someone if they sat in front of you, because applying this pub test helps you identify the language that sounds authentic versus corporate speak that makes people just tune out. So here are some we're staying in the pub, some conversation starters that feel natural and can start to spark some ideas for your marketing. I wish more people knew this about my industry. I wish people knew that mass-produced candles are made with paraffin wax, and if you burn it, it releases the same toxins as a diesel car. The most common questions people ask you, maybe you're a yoga teacher and people keep asking you, do I need to be flexible to start yoga? No, you start yoga so you can become more flexible. Are there myths that you're always debunking? Maybe you make pottery mugs and people think, oh, they're too delicate for everyday use. You can tell the story and say, well, my mugs survived the dishwasher and 3 children. Shortcuts that people always seem to take that don't actually work. Small things that make a big difference to people. All those conversations you have with clients, with customers, with people, the things you feel passionate about. I want you to apply the pub test to them and go, if I was sat in a pub with a friend or with a potential buyer or across, having a coffee, and we had this conversation, how would I actually speak it? And this is how you can apply it to your copy. So you can then look at some of your marketing content or your social media or your emails and say, would I ever actually talk like this out loud? Does it sound like me, or can any other business take this paragraph and put it on their website and it would work? And if your favorite client or customer sat across the table from you and you said those words out loud, will they roll their eyes or think that you've bumped your head? So if the language that comes out sounds stiff, generic, awkward, change it to be more natural and human. And 2 tips for that. One is you can absolutely ask AI tools to do this for you. Please proceed with caution. Please teach your AI how you sound before you just go, oh, I can just ask AI to make it sound, I don't know, warmer or friendlier or whatever. The second tip is one that I think works brilliantly for small businesses. It's the talk before you type trick. So recording yourself talking and then transcribing it. You can use your phone's recorder app. You can use talk to type on Google Docs or on Word. You can put a recording on something like Otter or Cast Magic and get it to transcribe it. And this works so beautifully because most small business owners speak brilliantly about their work and about their passions, but we freeze sometimes if we're not a natural writer when we're confronted by a blank page. I think it's something probably to do with school. So instead, speaking, capturing that energy is a brilliant way to use your voice and to put your voice across. So as a first draft to talk, then type or then edit is a really good approach. We're leaving the pub behind and we're looking at buzzwords. So this exercise might seem really simple, but it is really transformative for your marketing. Let me walk you through why buzzwords creep into our marketing and how we can eliminate them. So buzzwords, what I mean by this is words like high quality, premium, innovative, passionate, handmade. They're all quite tempting because they sound professional. They sound like we should do marketing in this way. But they've become so overused that they're almost meaningless. If everybody claims to be exceptional, then nobody is, right? So the antidote to this is specificity. When you replace vague terms with concrete details, you immediately distinguish your business and build credibility. So here are some common buzzwords to watch out for. Professional. Replace that with your actual credentials or your actual expertise. You're not a professional wedding cake maker. You have been making wedding cakes for 15 years. So you're adding that credential, that experience in there. Handcrafted. Yes, it's handcrafted, but describe your process. Each piece is shaped and glazed individually over 3 days. Tell the story. Premium experience. Actually share what makes it special. We limit our classes to 8 people so that I can give you individualized adjustments. Passionate about, this is another bugbear, even though I'm sure it's probably on my website. Don't just say you're passionate, show people you're passionate. I've been obsessively testing sourdough recipes every weekend for 5 years. Who else started baking sourdough in COVID? When you find yourself writing something vague, ask yourself, how exactly do I do this? Or what makes it so? Because this forces you to provide evidence rather than just empty claims with nonsense words. So a great way to test this is to take a piece of writing and imagine a competitor copying and pasting that for their business. If it would still make sense, then your description is too generic. You want to make it so specific that it would be absolutely absurd for anyone else to claim it. Anyone can claim high quality about their t-shirts, but only you can share your specific cotton weight, your production methods, your story behind the design, or how you've tested it for durability. So try this exercise on maybe your website today. Go for your homepage, circle any vague words like high quality, luxury, best in class, committed to excellence. I bet you'll find at least 3 that you can replace with specific details that make your business instantly more distinctive and trustworthy. So ask each time, how exactly and what makes it so? Because that specificity will make your copy more believable, more engaging, and more unique. Stories that stick, our third one. Now, storytelling, I think, is such an intimidating instruction when it comes to marketing. I've been doing marketing for like nearly 25 years, and I remember working in an agency and there was this whole thing about storytelling, and I just thought, but what is it? Well, today I want to tell you how you can apply storytelling to your marketing, because storytelling isn't just for books or movies. They are how, as humans, we've shared information since the beginning of time. There's a reason the best teachers use storytelling and anecdotes, because humans are wired for stories. It's how we make sense of the world. So instead of telling people just what you do, try showing them why it matters through a simple, memorable story. They really are your secret weapon for memorable marketing. And I think when we think about storytelling, we think of things like about pages or origin stories. And the example I'm about to show you is that. But I'm going to show you a 3-part structure that works everywhere. You can use it in social media posts, you can use it on your about page, service and product descriptions, and testimonials as well. So here is a voice and an echo example. We see the top example often, right? Welcome to Gordon's Garden Offices, suppliers of quality garden offices in Manchester and the rest of the UK. It's fine, like it says exactly what, but it doesn't tell the story, it doesn't connect emotionally. Compare it with the bottom. Gordon's Garden Offices was born in my garden shed after I was made redundant in 2020. Gordon, you're mad to launch during a pandemic. Turns out there's never been a better time to help people create professional workspaces at home. Now we're a team of 3, blah, blah, blah. Now, this follows a very particular structure in storytelling called the 3 T's. 3 story elements that hook people. The trigger moment is where something significant changes that sets the story in motion. For Gordon, it was redundancy. You can say, what sparked my business idea? For me, I reached a point in agencies where I could no longer do that form of mainstream marketing because it was at odds with my values. Then you introduce a tension point. That's the challenge, the conflict, the obstacle that creates stakes and emotional investment. It builds that anticipation and makes the audience actually care about the outcome. So in Gordon's case, it's Gordon, you're mad to launch during a pandemic. So you might think, what was the problem that you were trying to solve? What was frustrating? Who said it didn't work or it couldn't work? And then you've got the turnaround, so the resolution, the transformation, the pivot where things have changed direction, showing your growth, your learning, or a new perspective. So how did you prove them wrong? What unexpected success did you experience? What did you learn? For Gordon, he's in a shed with 3 people and they've got proper heating now. In the workbook, I've got more examples of this, but I think this is a really good exercise for you to apply, because this framework, like I said, works in many different contexts because it creates that emotional connection regardless of the content type. I think sometimes we think product descriptions should just say what it says on the tin, but I actually disagree. I think we need to prioritize emotional connection with people. It demonstrates the real world applications of your offerings. It shows that transformation, which is actually the thing that people are really buying. They're not just buying the product or the service, they're actually buying the transformation or what it says about their identity. It's far more emotional. And it just makes even routine marketing messages like product descriptions much more engaging. So I meant to include in the workbook, I have several examples of each of these, and I failed to include it in the workbook, keeping it real. So I will, if you've downloaded the workbook, I will email you some of these examples to see how you can apply the 3 T's framework to different aspects of your marketing. So in summary, as we wrap up and before we go to your questions, here's something I want you to remember. Your voice is your superpower. The world around you is increasingly busy. It's so full of noise. It's so full of sameness. And what cuts through is your honesty, your quirks, your story. Distinction isn't about being flashy or loud. It's about being real, and it's critical to your success. So I want to challenge you to go back to your marketing with fresh eyes and ask yourself, am I being myself or am I echoing someone else? Am I playing it safe by blending in, and by playing it safe, am I actually shooting myself in the foot because I'm not standing out? The good news is that nobody can compete with you being you, and that's the most powerful brand advantage that there is. And if this is all sort of new to you and it's the first time you're thinking of it and you're thinking, oh, does this mean I have to rewrite my whole website or change how I do marketing or learn how to become a copywriter? Please, please, please start small. Choose one thing that you're going to do before the end of this week and email me for extra accountability. So drop me an email, that's my email address. Tell me what you are going to do, what small thing you are going to do to be a little bit more distinctive this week, and I will hold you to account. Thank you so much for being here, for listening to me chat. This is me. There's the QR code if you want the workbook and the slides. And yeah, stay in touch. Emma, have we got some questions?
Thank you so much, Karen. We have got lots and lots of questions. I'll just pop the QR code back in the chat as well. Just I know a few people very keen to have that. So do click that link. Right, so I think I will dive straight in. Somebody's asked about sharing their personality on Instagram. They've said that they find it quite difficult and they would like some tips on how to make it feel a bit more natural and so they don't overthink it.
Okay, I get this, and I've been there as well. And I think a couple of things. One is to start small. We are definitely not saying be the loudest or, be extremely emotionally vulnerable and tell people everything about your life. And this is not what it's about. It is about gently stepping out and just sharing a little bit. I talk about it as showing a bit of ankle and getting progressively bolder. I think it helps to think about the things that you're genuinely passionate about. I think as small business owners, we start our business for a reason. We're passionate about the thing, hopefully, that we're selling. And it's about tapping back into that, because the longer we're in business, sometimes we lose touch with that why and that purpose and our origin and origin story and kind of why we do what we do. So I think getting back in touch with that and remembering that for other people, it's not what they do every single day. They still get really excited about it. So remembering why you started is a really good thing. Specifically with Instagram, I think it is helpful to follow good role models. So finding some accounts that you go, oh, I like what they're doing, or I'm always looking forward to the content that they share, and then dissecting that a little bit and going, well, what is it about them? and then figuring that out, how you can apply that to yourself. To use mine as an example, I think I share quite a lot on there, like a lot, but I don't feel like I have laid bare my soul on
Mhm.
Instagram. I am a mum of two children. I don't post about them because for me that's off limits. I share my dog a lot, and people resonate with that. So I think the more you sort of experiment, the more you will get feedback and you'll go, well, that felt good. I'll do a bit more of that. Or that felt icky. I'm not going to do that again. Or I'm surprised like how that resonated. One example of something I did last year, I was really ill. It was like an extended virus at the end of last summer. And I remember looking and feeling rough as anything. And I was on a dog walk, but I had this idea and I sort of went, oh, I should do a post about it. I can write a really nice blog post about that and then a really polished Instagram post. And I realized I'm never going to do that. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to film this now, one shot with my roots showing and my like broken nose and just feeling a bit rubbish and talk about it. And it was one of the best reels I've ever done in terms of feedback. So I think sometimes we stop ourselves because we want to be super professional and appear really polished. And I think those times where we not like crash through our boundaries, but just stretch our zone of comfort a little bit. And then we get that positive feedback and go, didn't realize that was going to land. And that action gives us more confidence to try
Yeah.
that more often.
Definitely. And I think you hit a really good point there about not kind of overthinking it. If you have a thought on a dog walk or wherever it is, jot it down, do a quick post, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be polished, like you were saying with the coffee cup. Like, everyone's seen that before, and that's not necessarily what people want to see. So great advice there. A few people are having issues with the link. Would you mind just popping that screen back on
Oh,
just
yeah.
to go for questions?
Mhm.
A few questions as well, housekeeping about the replay. We'll send you a link tomorrow, so you'll be able to watch that in your own time as well. So don't worry about that. Perfect. Thank you, Karen. Next question. Do you think there's a risk of trying too hard to stand out? I don't want to come across as being fake.
Oh, totally. You can see it, can't you? I feel like there's lots of brands that try to copy Oatly. Like Oatly had a really distinctive, they were very different. And then there were loads of like copycats, and it's like, oh, you're just trying too hard and it's not real. So I think that's where really tuning into your why and your purpose, the stuff that you genuinely care about. And maybe we can share this on the replay, Emma. I'll send you the link. But that article I wrote about Start With Why, there's a download there with, I think, 19 prompts to uncover your why. So I think it is an element of navel gazing to a degree where you know yourself. And you can feel instinctively when something is a little bit jarring. So definitely, I would say do not try too hard. Get inspiration from others, but don't try to copy them. And for those of you who use AI to create content, I think there's I have seen this in practice where people go, write this as if you're Oatly's copywriter. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
It's about like identifying, like really leaning into you. And I think that starts with your why, remembering why you started, the stuff that you genuinely care about. And like I said in the presentation, not hiding your quirks. I think lots of us might be super nerdy about aspects of our business. I have a friend who has a brilliant stationery shop in Marple where I live, and she gets so excited about pens. And
Oh.
she talks about it in her social media. Give her a follow, Stationery Supplies in Marple. She gets so excited about like different pens, and I don't get it, but her people, like there are other people who also care that much about pens. And the example I gave of Serenity Booksellers, the fact that they put together a list of the 100 best books in their community every year. I'm interested in that. I want to read it. So it is about remembering your excitement and the things that excite you, and sharing that.
Definitely. I think as well, if you are energetic about something, oh,
I
doggy.
know this dog is like, you're talking about things you love, it must mean me.
Definitely. So if if you're passionate about something and your energy comes across, then that's never going to be perceived as being fake, because you can tell when someone's genuinely excited about something. But lots of people are saying that they love stationery, so that's good.
Oh, good, yes. A good notebook. Can't
Yeah,
beat.
There are a few questions that come in about buzzwords. When you replace buzzwords with specificity, wouldn't it make it too wordy? I always say 10 words when I can do it with 5. How do I keep it succinct without using buzzwords?
I would challenge that. Why is there a blanket rule to make everything succinct? Sometimes I think like why do we watch a 2-hour film? That kind of gist can probably be explained. The plot can be explained in 3 sentences, but we still watch the film. So I think don't follow the rules blindly. Like, yes, it's important to be succinct. Yes, it's important to be clear, but it's also important to make that emotional connection. It's also important to stand out. What's the point of using a word like premium if people are just going to read over it and not understand what that actually means? So definitely not saying write everything super long, but where you want to make that emotional connection, I think you can play a little bit. And as with any rules in marketing and in life, sometimes they're made to be bent and molded to your business, and to remember your goals, what you're trying to achieve with your marketing, who you're speaking to. So your front row, will they want to read a little bit more? Do they want to understand your process? Do they want to understand like how you source your materials? Then you can go beyond the 5 words, the 10 words, and make it platform specific as well. Some like your Instagram bio will be much shorter than your about page, for example. And then I guess the final point is test it on people, test it on people who represent your ideal buyers, not just your mate or your partner or your mum, but actually test it on people and say, which one do you prefer? Would you read something of this length? You can definitely, get some feedback.
Fab. It's like what was the saying? Would your grandma understand this? Or explain it to your grandma.
Yes. And actually, that's something I know I've mentioned AI a couple of times, but using AI to ask it for feedback and to say, how can I write this to be more clear? Write this in plain English, take out the jargon. Like, I think it's a really good tool for editing and tweaking our content.
Definitely. There's a question that's just come in about AI, so that's very timely. Does AI help to make our voice unique? How much content marketing can we rely on for AI if we don't have hiring resources?
I am a huge fan of AI and I see it used really badly all the time. So something that I've done is I have trained AI. So I've created something called custom GPTs on ChatGPT, which is where I instruct an AI agent to create content that sounds just like me. Building something like this takes a good few hours because I've told it things like my key marketing messages, my tone of voice, my values, my business strategy. I've uploaded probably, probably 50 examples of content that I've done before. I've really trained it. And now I use it to create my email marketing. So it doesn't draw from, other sources on the internet. It draws on that knowledge base that I have built. And last week, I asked it to come up with 12 email marketing ideas for the next few months. And it came up with 12, and then they were all good. And I asked it to write them for me. And yes, they'll need some tweaking, but that whole process took 8 minutes. So in
Wow.
8 minutes, I was able to have 12 emails ready. And if you subscribe to my email marketing, you will be reading content that was created by Emily, my AI agent. So I think AI has brilliant potential for small businesses with limited resources to do really good content that sounds like us. But that sounds like us aspect is for me the most important. So you're
Yeah.
either going to have to invest in getting someone to build you custom things or learn how to do it yourself, and be prepared to edit afterwards. I think it works best when it draws on your existing stuff that you've written or created before, because that is where it saves you the most amount of time and allows you to be not just the same as everyone else. Because I think even beyond the long dashes, we can just start to see when people have just popped this into ChatGPT and just published the output on LinkedIn, and it shows. And again, it's a sea of sameness.
Yes, it definitely is. On that topic, do you have any tips for how you can make it sound a bit more like you? I know you mentioned, giving it previous examples of your work, of your tone of voice, of those kind of things. Would, like, for instance, having a conversation with it help?
Yes, having a conversation, so not taking the first output and just going, this is enough, but
Mhm.
actually saying, rewrite this for clarity or make it sound warmer or friendlier or more professional or in plain English, I think is good. But I think even better than that is the pub test. So reading it out loud and going, oh, would I say that? And then changing it. You could also just ask the output to be more like bullet points, so not full sentences. So you have just the outline and then write it in your own voice. So it depends really on yeah, how comfortable you are as a writer. But yeah, just please don't take the first output. It is all about garbage in, garbage out, or yeah, you want to go and tweak it.
Fab. Questions come in about brand color and logo. Sarah is currently rebranding and she's put some bits on her own. She's created some bits on her own with the color and logo, but it doesn't quite feel right. Do you have any advice on how she can kind of tweak the design to make it feel like it resonates with her?
I am not a designer. Having said that, I have, oh, and I can probably stop sharing again now. I have designed that logo, top right, myself 8 years ago in Canva. So I think it can be done if you stretch on resources. I think finding an actual designer to give you feedback on things like palette and font pairings, because it is a skill. It is something that I really value in people who understand branding, understand color, psychology, because your brand is something that is important and that is going to last you hopefully years. So I think it's great to get to a point where you've done some designs and you have some ideas. So if you can involve like a professional, I think that's probably the best idea. Keep it simple. As someone who's a non-designer, I think keeping things simple, so having a limited color palette, thinking about accessibility, thinking about where you'll use those colors. So it's not just about, oh, I like these colors, so I'm going to have that on my website, but actually think about your end user, about how it's going to look on your website, whether people are going to be able to read it, if it has contrast. But like I say, it's a specialized skill. And I think bringing in a designer, even if it's just an hour's consultation and you go off and tweak it again on Canva, I think that's probably the best.
Definitely. I was just thinking while you were talking there as well, you could even turn that into a post on social saying, which color do you think is better for me? Or, whatever it is, a poll on
Absolutely.
Instagram stories, anything like that, just to get some content out there. And then hopefully, as well as it resonating with you, or does that resonate with your customers as well?
Yeah. And people love that behind the scenes things. They love seeing how other people run their businesses, and understanding it's that showing a bit of ankle. Maybe you don't want to show like where you go on holiday, but you're happy to show like a bit of your business process or yeah, the decisions you're making.
Mhm. Somebody's asked about custom GPTs. Bless.
She's
Um,
back.
would you set that up yourself? I think you said you designed your own GPTs in
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Yes, I can make a recommendation if that's okay. So someone who has taught me how to do it is Charlotte Goss. And if you go on Instagram, her handle is Systems with Charlotte, and she has a free training that take and some templates that take you through step by step how to create custom GPTs. Oh, excuse
Wow.
her. She has some templates. You need the paid for ChatGPT in order to do custom GPTs. But like I said, it takes a few hours to set up. You can use Charlotte's free training for that, and it will save you a lot of time. Yeah, if you set it up properly.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm also so impressed that you know all these people's names off by heart and their Instagram handles. It's very
They are
impressive.
brilliant. These are all people that I've like used myself. Charlotte has helped me a lot in my business. And yeah, we all need to lift each other up, don't we?
Definitely. Thank you so much, Karen. If anyone's got any final burning questions, do pop them in the chat or the Q&A now. Before we wrap up, do you have any pieces of advice, words of wisdom that you'd like to share?
I think it is something that takes practice, being yourself and having the confidence to own who you are and to confidently put that out in the world. I think traditional marketing advice is very much about professional at all costs and, blending in and doing the right thing. Hold on to this idea that all of this is something that you can apply to your own business, and that that you can kind of practice. You don't have to dive in two-footed immediately. You can dip your toe in gently, and try and get the feedback and push that boundary a little bit more. And I can see people are asking Charlotte's surname. It's Charlotte Goss, Goss. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Lots of the information that we've talked about today, the links and stuff, we will be sending out in the replay. So I know a few people have asked for a few things, so don't worry, we will be sharing those with you tomorrow. I hope that you have a lovely rest of the day. Thank you all so much for joining today. And thank you again, Karen, for a great session.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.